everyone, thanks for coming back to my channel. As you know, if you watched the previous video, my flip through was long, and so I broke it into two different videos, and this one will be for the tutorial showing the page, how I created the pages in my design team project for Shabby Art Boutique Linen, Lace, and Papers. I'm going to show you from the journal pages that Carrie Ann provided for us how I created my pages. And what I'm going to do is just cut off all the white margin around and then just fold each page, and I will show you different methods of putting them together as after I get them all cut out. So I'm going to do that off camera, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got everything folded, and what I forgot to tell you is fold them right side together. And once you fold it, don't press it down all the way. See how it's not completely compressed, because that will help in the end with the spine. And you can see here, again, see how they're not completely smashed down. So you can, I have 8 pages in mine, I think 8 pages. So I printed a couple of them more than once. And once you fold them, put them in the order that is appealing to you for when you do your flip through. And I've paper clipped them together because what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them, this one to this one, this one to this one, and that will make the page. So the fold goes back here towards the spine, and we're going to glue them together here. And then that leaves a white page here, and because I printed double-sided anyway, it's not white, but it should be white. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to cut it in half, and that will be the back page and the front page, and then another one for the inside to the covers. So I have one here, and those are glued down, and one here, and one here, and those are glued down. So what I did with my pages, and I kind of did an experiment, because I haven't had great success with glue sticks when it comes to just gluing paper together. I find that it is a wet glue, and it tends to crinkle my pages, which I don't necessarily mind. Because a lot of times we're going to be putting on lots of pockets and, you know, covering it up with other things, so it doesn't matter. What I'm looking for more is stability. I want my pages to be as firm as possible and to hold together. And what I found using the glue stick is I didn't maybe not use enough glue, and some of them did start coming apart, so I did have to put glue in them, like in between my pages along here, and I think one came apart here. So you would want to go heavy with the glue if you're using a glue stick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what they look like using different types of glue, so that you can see you can use the glue that you've got on hand, or you can buy expensive glues. So the first one I'm going to glue together, I am going to do with the glue stick, so that you can see how it reacts to the paper when you use the glue stick. And the glue sticks are primarily a water base, as I understand it. And so anytime you put a liquid onto paper, it's going to crinkle at some point. So, and crinkle and wrinkle. So this first one, I'm going to use the glue stick, and I'm not going to glue all the way down. I'm going to leave about a 1/2 of an inch, maybe a 3/8 of an inch along here, not glued. So everything up to that point will be glued all the way around. And again, never mind my double printing. I'm just going to cover that up. So, I know it seems like such a shame, doesn't it? But that was my error. Okay, so I'm going to, and then I went and did it. You do not want to put glue all the way to the edge. You want to leave about 3/8 to a 1/2 of an inch away from the edge. And one of the other things, you can see the difference in printing on a better quality, or not better, but a thicker quality paper, as opposed to the thinner, is you definitely get a better image. These are light and not necessarily as clear, but they're still beautiful, and you can still use them. You know, in the end, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going, you have a couple of seconds once you start putting these together to move it around. And don't worry, we can trim it up. If you have white edges, we can trim those off in a little bit. And yeah, okay, this isn't working out. I got it really crooked. See? But in the end, it's not going to matter. What I'm going to do is go ahead and, you know, we'll cover our edges, or if you want to ink, it doesn't matter. So you can see that it's rippling from the moisture, and that will lay out. I didn't do a fantabulous job putting this down here, so you know, part of that is my fault because I didn't get it all the way down. But what you don't want to do is glue all the way to the edge, and you don't want to use your bone folder or smash down the crease over here. And see, you can see with the moisture of the glue that you can see the other image, because I printed on the back. If it was just white, you wouldn't see that. That is a fault of my own for using a misprint. Okay, so for my next one, I'm going to do this page, and I'm going to use the white glue. I'm going to use white glue. And if you are like me and you have an issue with remembering not to glue there, then I'm going to put this here, because then that will be a reminder to leave about a 3/8 inch gap. So I'm going to put this glue all the way around the edge. So although the white glues do have a water base, it's not nearly, can you see this is the glue stick, and this is the white glue we just used. Definitely better to use the white glue. And, you know, you don't have to use it really, really thick. The glue stick, I really can't recommend it for all over paging. Now, if you are wanting to sew your things, I do recommend putting glue to hold the page down, but just do it lightly, almost like a temporary type of a hold for it. Just hold it down so that you can sew around the edges, which is an amazing look. But you can see that actually is really nice. Okay, so the second one, or the third one, I'm going to use Fabri-Tac, which is, yeah, it's an amazing glue. I tell you, it's an amazing glue. So that you can see what happens to the paper when I use the Fabri-Tac. And I do put mine in the Sugar Bell bottle because it just comes out so much nicer this way. Don't forget, only leaving 3/8 of an inch. And you don't even have to put the glue all over the center. It's not even necessary to do that. And in some, depending on how thick your paper is to begin with, you could actually only glue here and leave this open for a pocket. Okay, so you can see that that came out pretty nice as well. And as it begins to dry, you can see that they are starting to curl. But if you just put a book on top of this and let it set overnight to dry completely, the curl's going to go away. But see, in the end, I used glue stick on all of this, and they don't curl. You don't even notice that they curl or ripple, or, you know, there's just no difference once you get going with the whole process. Okay, so for my next page and last page, I am going, the next to the last page, I'm going to go to the white glue, and I'm just going to do around the edge here and leave the inside, and then you can see what it does for it kind of makes it nice, actually. Especially if you're using some already tea stained papers. There's so many possibilities, but it makes a really nice sound. You could even put a piece of parchment paper in between the two. And actually, let me get a piece of parchment paper and do that. It's something I have thought about doing and haven't done yet. So I'm going to get one of those. I'll be right back. Okay, so I have a piece of parchment paper here, and I am going to even this up just a little bit because I don't want it to glue into the edge of it. I just want it to be in the center so that you can hear the, it's just going to feel different. Anytime you use parchment paper or tracing paper or vellum, it really just feels so much different. Anyway, and I am going to put some glue on here just to hold it down, because see, it's curling while I glue the others together. Just a little bit. Okay, and it's not going to show, so it doesn't really matter. All right, let me put this here because I don't want to forget, but I do want to sandwich that paper in, and I'm just going to glue around the edge. I'm not going to be gluing the actual parchment paper down. Let's see what happens here. And this is part of creating, is just experimenting and see what happens. And this is something I thought of to do a while ago and just haven't taken the time to do it. So you're going on the journey with me. And I definitely would normally be using a thicker paper. As I said earlier, I just want you to see that you can use whatever you can get from your local stores. Even the markets, grocery stores have an office supply section where you can get a paper, and you may not be able to get a whole ream of it, but you can get enough to create with. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing, is that we actually can create with anything. That's really nice. If you were, I don't know if you can hear it or not. I really like the way that feels. That is really nice. I'm going to do that again on this one. I think that's nice. I like it. So this is going to be my last page, just for demonstration. And so I just want a little piece in here. And again, I'm going to put a little bit of glue just to hold it down well. And you could use, you know, your glue stick. It doesn't matter. It's really just to hold it here while I glue the other piece to it. And again, I'm not going to be gluing this right here, and I'm not going to be smashing it down because I want there to be a gap for my spine. And this is making this thicker too as well. So if you were to put the parchment paper in there, let's say you could only get 20-pound paper, if put the parchment paper in between and give it a nice glue to do the whole thing, and that it's really making it feel really nice and sturdy. Okay, so you can see that it is a little janky. I was hurrying. You don't want to hurry. You want your, and I got off. But you want to take your time. And then what I would do at this point is I would get a book and weight it down, and so that the curling of the ones that are going to curl will flatten out as much as possible, and then it will get good connectivity between the pages. And then I would trim off some of the little white edges that are showing. I'm not necessarily concerned about the pages matching. They don't have to match completely for me. If it's going to be a problem for you as the creator, that is a creator's choice. But I am totally going to recommend putting the parchment paper in between, because it sounds nice, it feels good, and I really like it. Plus, it's giving some more thickness to your pages. Very nice. I like it. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how I do the front and the back cover, and then show you how I combine everything together. So I just took some packaging, and it's, you know, a cereal box, or what, I think even macaroni and cheese boxes, whatever you have, crackers, anything in your cabinet, and you cut it to the size. This particular journal, I did the cover and the back at 5 by 7, which is slightly larger than the pages that we glued together. And the pages, once you cut the margin, the white margins off, are about 5 or 4/7/8 and by 6 and 7/8. So just slightly under. So that gives an 1/8 inch larger than your pages, which, you know, that's a designer choice. So I'm going to cut these down to 5 by 7, and I'll be right back. I'm going to cover these in plain white paper, the same paper that I used for the actual pages. Now, depending on the color of your journal, because you could be doing blue or lavender or, you know, even black, depending on the color that you're choosing, you might want to double the paper, because it you can see through it because it is thinner. So if you don't want that shadow underneath, which in the end I will be covering with lace and other fabrics and things, and paper, other paper from the kit, so you would need to decide if that's an okay thing for you based on how you're going to decorate your cover. So for this, it's going to be fine because I'm going to be putting other papers on top of it. I just want to show you how to go about putting the paper on for the cover. So I'm going to do them individually, and I cut the white paper is approximately 1 inch all the way around, and it, you know, doesn't have to be that large, but that's how large I did mine. So I'm going to be using the Fabri-Tac because I have it open, but I'm going to start by putting the glue all over the cardboard first, right up to the edge. And then I'm going to, you know, it doesn't have to be centered, but I'm going to do my best. And this particular packaging is slightly warped, so I don't know if it's going to matter in the end. Gonna add to the charm, I think. Okay, so that's on there. Now let me do this one. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the corners off, and I'm only going to cut it right. I'm going to leave about a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch and cut at an angle. And we're going to fold these in and glue them down to get a nice corner. Okay, so now I'm going to do the long sides first, and I'm going to put the glue on the paper and some on the cardboard, a little bit on there. And if you're using a thicker paper, you want to try to give the paper a little curve, sort of train it. I forgot to do this on this side, so it's definitely. Okay, so now for these corners, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend in. I'm going to push in that little piece that length of an inch that we left on there, just so that it covers the cardboard nicely. And you have to work with it just a little bit to get it to go in there. And sometimes it's easier with a thicker cardboard. That way there's actually a nice ridge for you to bend that little piece in. Are a little warpy, but once you start piling things on, not gonna matter. Okay, so now we're going to put the cover on. Okay, so I chose muslin, and you can use any fabric that you want. You can use old bed sheets, pillowcases. It doesn't matter, as long as you're comfortable in your design choice of the color of fabric that may or may not show. And I chose to do 1.5 inches for my spine to give it room for expansion as it goes. I wanted to have it expand. So that leaves 3/4 of an inch that I will glue on the front and the back of the covers. And I am going to use the fabric tack because it is fabric to paper, and fabric tack is really good. You could use tapes and other kinds of glues. it really doesn't matter. As long as it's going to hold for you, it doesn't matter. You really, really, really want to have it straight. So if I put that there, well, that looks better. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to show you how I attach my pages to the actual journal cover. I chose to do this with the muslin, and I recommend that if you are going to be using the lighter weight papers, that you do get a nice cut on the fabric, which you could use paper, but with the lighter weight papers might show the ripples, and at this point it might show or it might not when you get into the decorating of it. So just, you know, a step to avoid it in the end. And I am using approximately 1.5 inches of muslin to do this. And it doesn't have to be exact, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because it's not going to show. It's going to just attach these two together. And I am going to use the Fabri-Tac because I am using fabric to paper. I'm going to make sure that this first page is right up against the of the cover, and because the pages are, if you remember, they're approximately 1/8 of an inch shorter than our cover, you just want to, you know, eyeball it to center it. And we're not gluing the paper to the cover, just the fabric. I hope you can see that. And this does take, this glue does take a couple of minutes to dry, so I'm not going to be moving it around too much. I'll show you what it looks like as soon as I feel like it's dry. And this is where you definitely want to take your time when you are gluing your pages together, because you know, you can see I showed you earlier how I got them askew, and you really want to take your time and make sure that they are straight, because it does throw everything off. Okay, well, that one's drying. I'm going to do the back one, and then I will show you what it looks like. And again, you'll want to iron your fabric and make sure your edges are not frayed too much if you're using the lighter paper. And so, because this spine, I'm going to actually have to fold it back in order to get this page close to my cover. And there might be an easier way to do this. This is just how I did it for this one. And, you know, one of the things as a beginner, we see so many different methods of doing different things. And that it's wonderful to have so many different ways to try things, because then we can, you know, experiment and find the one that works the best for us, right? And that's part of it. Everyone does it a little bit differently. As long as it comes out the way you want it to in the end, that's all that matters. And I didn't get enough glue on here, so I'm just going to put a little bit more to hold that fabric down. Okay, I'm going to give this a minute to dry, and I'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like on the inside. Okay, so it's been a few minutes, and now you can see that the pages are now inside, and we are starting to get an actual journal now. Definitely you want to take a little bit more time, and you see I've got some ripples and things. You don't want to have that. To make a nicer journal in the end. So please take your time and have, you know, your fabrics ironed or use papers. But you can see how when I open and close, it's allowing me to have room for expansion as you add in your pockets and envelopes and all the ephemera, journal pages, journal cards, everything that you're going to want to stuff in there. It's going to allow you to not have such a gator mouth, which, you know, I ended up having a gator mouth, but you don't have to. At this point, I have chosen my papers for the inside cover pages, and I have obviously a hard time making decisions, and I will make changes up until the very last second. So what I like to do is to paper clip anything I know that I want to use, or something that I think I might want to use inside. And that way, when I do my flip throughs, I can see how it's coming together. And if I want to change something, I can. And you may have to adjust your pages. Just trim off a little bit so that they will match in the end. And so yes, I will paper clip these together. This will see how once you start gluing your pages down, your final pages, it covers up all of these. And I go so far as to even paper clip my laces and all kinds of things in there, so I can see how it comes together as I flip through and decide on certain things, and I can make the changes as I go along. This would also be a great opportunity to put in some of the envelopes or CD folders that have the flaps. You could put one inside here before you glue it down, and you could put that in there, and then you have an extra a goodie to decorate. This in between these two pages for having it on this side. You could put it down here to have a flap come this way. You could put it in this one at the top. It's all a designer's choice. So in my original, if you remember, I chose to use the file folders that were provided in the kit, and I cut the tabs off so that I could reposition them to fit my needs, as well as I glued them together, glued two together, and used the tickets for hinges. And then I tucked those under the back cover paper. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you so much for coming back to watch the tutorial of how I did the pages for my design team project for Shabby Art Boutique Linen, Lace, and Paper. I really appreciate you coming back. I hope you're feeling inspired and that you can create something so beautiful with just basic printer paper and a gorgeous kit from Shabby Art Boutique. Thank you so much again for joining me in the studio. Have a good day. Thank you. Bye.